It is that time. Before talking about new challengers, let's update the tier list. So this is what the tier list looked like at the end of 2025, and quite a few things have changed on it. So first, let's take off the two series that have been axed this batch. So that would be 1, Odor of the Flame, and then 2, Harukaze Mound. I'm going to talk more about these in a little bit. For now, I'm going to put them down here. I'm going to try to track the series that get axed and end this year, just so we can kind of see the fatalities throughout. And then we are also going to bump JJK Modulo up to the 4-star tier, definitely above Ichi the Witch, I think, and then Ichi the Witch is still definitely above Kagurabachi for me. While I have not caught up completely to JJK Modulo, it's just blatantly at least a 4-star series already. I'm hoping that I like it enough to bump it up to 5 stars, just as long as it doesn't end with another middle finger page to the reader. That's still crazy. I'm sorry. I can't get over it. And then I had Gonron in unrated last year, especially after the most recent chapters. I have decided what rating I'm gonna give it, and that is unfortunately 3 stars. I still read it weekly. Like, even though it is just not living up to my expectations, I still read it weekly, and that is because I still, at some base level, believe the concept that it started with has potential. It's just not living up to that potential very well. This series has really let me down, and I have a feeling that I'll be talking about it more in a very soon upcoming Axe video, like another update, because some of the new series that were introduced last batch have not been exactly thriving in the magazine. Editing saw here a new issue of the Jump magazine released, since it's been like a week and I've been busy, yada yada, haven't had time to edit. Anyways, the update is that Elusive Samurai has indeed ended this week, so that means that we are back down to the normal number of series in the magazine. I'm going to first talk about the series that have ended this batch, and then after that I'm going to talk about the new series that have started. Feel free to skip ahead if you're just interested in the new stuff. There's that little chapter divider thing you can drag ahead on the time bar below. 2 series were axed this batch, 1, Odor of the Flame, and 2, Harukaze Mound. The first was kind of a shame art-wise, but I could not read the writing of this series, unfortunately. The creator needs a different writer, or to try a different manga magazine, something like that. I have not read their first series yet, which was the Red Hood one, but that one also got axed, and I feel like, just on a surface level, I feel as if the story and premise for Red Hood was more creative and inspired than it was for Odor. It felt like the author was actually really into the world he created for that first series, but the story for Odor really feels like someone told the mangaka, hey, that creative shit don't sell in Jump, conform or get axed. So this is his second try, and then he just tried to conform as much as possible story-wise so he could still publish a manga in Jump. Odor is very basic shonen plot type of stuff to me, and you can kind of tell that his heart wasn't really into the story of Odor. This artist is really talented. I love how stylized and graphic their work is at times. They just really need to find something that works for them and what they can do and what they want to do, what they want to create in a manga. There are definitely other magazines with styles of atmosphere that I think would suit their work a lot better. It is unfortunate though, because obviously if you publish in Jump, you essentially guarantee that your series is going to be seen by way more people. There was one scene that I really liked in the last chapter of Oder, and that is the one where he starts a fire and he remembers his friend. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I searched it up at one point because there's an Arknights character called the same thing, but since then I have forgotten it, so I'll just leave it at the fire sprite character. I think it was really lovely and a little bit of a touch of something from the heart when he lights a fire in his everyday post Shounen adventure life and remembers the kind of spark that they used to have together. That was definitely a nice way to end the series. I just wish everything in between was a little more unique and a little more whimsical. The second act series, however, Hazekare Mound, this one got under my skin a little bit because I really liked this series. I rated it 4 stars. It takes a lot for a series to get 4 stars, and it was essentially the only sports manga in the magazine if you don't count Akane Banashi. It was the only traditional sports series in the magazine, and now there are none. We'll talk about Alien Headbutt in a little bit, but there are no traditional sports series left in the magazine, and I'm really hoping that Jump doesn't start pitching them again because some of those pitches were very bad. Do you know how difficult it is to make someone who dislikes baseball enjoy a baseball manga? Before reading Hazekare Mound, I wasn't even ambivalent about the sport. I actively disliked it, which is crazy because I'm not a sports person. So I went into this with really low expectations, and I went into this really expecting I would drop the series like at chapter 1. It's a personal thing because baseball is also one of the few sports I've watched a live game of in person. We were held hostage in that stadium all day. And when I say hostage, I mean hostage because the team that was playing was not playing in our home city. So we'd gotten like on buses to go watch that baseball game. We were all thinking like, oh, this is just going to be a hour or two, you know, a casual sports ball game. It's fine. We can go watch them even if we aren't like super into baseball or nothing. Guys, the game lasted all day. We left when it was dark outside. Why did we do that? But essentially, like, we could not just walk out of the stadium and leave. We were forced to sit there for the entire day as just hours went past and nothing was really happening. The game was crawling by at like a snail's pace. If someone told me, a potential like best friend told me their top number 1 interest was baseball, I would genuinely have to sit back and reconsider if we could be friends because I don't know if I could accompany them to another baseball game. Guys, I don't know if I could do it. But somehow this series was really, really darn good. I don't know how long it's been since I've enjoyed a Jump sports series, genuinely years, and because of the success of Blue Lock, I really feel like Jump is just pitching tomatoes at the wall, trying to make something stick in the traditional sports genre, and they just cannot do it. I'm remembering like all the most recent stuff they've pitched and then axed after a couple chapters, and they cannot do it. And then finally they got one that's actually good with Hazekare Mound, and they immediately fumble it and axe it. Like, Hazekare Mound is traditional sports, and it does it really well. The art's fantastic, the writing's fantastic, the sports aspect is fantastic. It does contain elements of baseball while still hyping it up with some shonen stuff and making it interesting to people who don't care about sports and don't care about baseball in general. I think it is very fun. It is not Blue Lock, because Blue Lock is very unique. Blue Lock is barely a soccer manga. Harukaze Mound is a baseball manga with some shonen stuff in it. And I know it was at the bottom of the TOC, but I don't care about the TOC, sorry. Just because a series sells well doesn't mean it's good. So inversely, just because a series doesn't sell well, that doesn't mean it's bad. Valuing monetary statistics over love, over craftsmanship, over good writing, over artistic skills. We just can't do that in this house. Yeah, this guts me that Harukaze Mound got axed. This is something that I think is very unfortunate about the Jump meat grinder, is that some types of series like sports series need a little more patience, and they do not benefit from the very cutthroat, fast-paced atmosphere of the Jump magazine. Sports series are notorious for their pretty slow pacing, the fact that their arcs are best read in one sitting because their arcs are like an entire game, and it can be difficult to keep up with them on a week-to-week basis, which is why I don't really read a lot of sports series on a week-to-week basis, which also means that potentially the statistics for the series could be impacted. Many other manga magazines have traditional sports series and very long-running traditional sports series, and I think if Shonen Jump wants to seed a new one and wants that to be successful, they've got to realize that not all the different types of series in their magazine can be judged and should be judged in the same way. For a sports series, you just need to give it a little more time to grow and establish itself. Like, if they want to try again with a new sports series, they've really just gotta let it breathe. Otherwise, this is gonna happen again and again. Elusive Samurai, the third series, this one ended on its own terms. It did not get axed. Just my overall thoughts are, it's not that great to me. I really feel a strong tonal disconnect with the series because it's meant to be historical and have some pretty emotional aspects, but then the author tries to interject that with like constant gag humor, which I don't really find works in this setting, especially since it's based on real life history. Even with my nostalgia for the author's previous manga, the very famous Assassination Classroom, I did have some issues with that even back in the day when I was reading it as a kid, and I think that premise works a lot better for this artist's sense of humor than a historical, dramatic, emotional setting like Elusive Samurai. There's definitely some kind of bizarre, horny energy to Elusive, which makes me feel very strange because I'm pretty sure like we're meant to be taking this seriously. Regardless, I'm glad the series got to end on its own term, and I think I've just in general outgrown this creator. All right. I've rambled about the old stuff for long enough. Let's move on to the new. First up, trained from birth as an assassin, our main character decides to study medicine and use his skills for good instead. This is Underdoctor. Underdoctor is pretty interesting to me. This is another series where I'm still trying to kind of get a grasp on what it's trying to be and where its strengths are. Well, let me rephrase that. I feel like the series is still trying to get a grasp on what it's trying to be and what its strengths are. The series that this manga is trying to replace in the Jump magazine is Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto Days is coming to an end, so it does make sense that they're trying to launch something similar and retain the fans from that series. Right off the bat, I'll just say this is not as good as Sakamoto Days art-wise. It's not bad, but it is very much inadequate as a replacement. The battle action parts are just not drawn in a standout way, and it doesn't have the charm that Sakamoto does for its battles. So therefore, I am going to remove the Sakamoto aspect from my mind and continue to talk about it as if it was just any other introduced series. The first chapter was pretty rough, not going to lie. It didn't convey the series' strengths or charm to me. By the end of chapter 2 of Underdoctor, I was ready to drop this series, but then chapter 3 brought it back around, gave it a little more life, a long-term goal, something I am interested in. It talked about how his research was to help his friend who has an uncurable illness. It talked about some of the other types of stuff that make up this main character besides being a really good doctor and fighting a lot. The orphan diseases aspect and the research aspect is much more interesting to me in this series than the actual battle shonen. A potential controversial critique: whenever the series turns into battle shonen, my interest exits the premises. Because the battle slop is nothing fantastic in this series, but there is a little seed of something when the doctor uses his powers and funds to further medical research for good and to help people get a new appreciation for their physical health and life. And that's not to say battle slop is bad. I just don't really think it's the strength of this series. Like, it doesn't do battle slop good enough to compete with the other series in this magazine that do battle slop amazingly. I'd even be down for some medical history type stuff in this series, some educational bits. I know it's kind of been BSing the medical aspects so far, talking about chakras and all that stuff, but there can be some educational factor worked into this, I really think. Like, imagine if he talked about some Henrietta Lacks or some Mendel type historical things. Step outside the box a little bit. Give us a little something unique and new to read. At 3 chapters, I'm going to put this series in the 3-star tier near the bottom. 3 stars, under Gonron Egg, actually. I'll give this one a few more chapters to establish its identity before making a judgment on whether or not I will read it weekly. There is potential here, but I really think it needs to solidify its strengths instead of continually being so scattered trying to chase a battle shonen high, because the battle shonen aspect is not a strong point of this series, unfortunately. For the second series that started in this batch, what if you were your town's apprentice healer but dream of going on quirky guild adventures with your new cool friend and your dollar store Nami childhood friend? This is Kinato's Magic. This was surprisingly kind of cute, actually. It has solid enough art, a classic shonen guild adventure concept. It has decently natural humor, which did make me, what's the opposite of laugh out loud? Smile slightly internally a couple of times throughout chapter 1 and then a couple more times throughout chapter 2. You know what this reminds me of? Kinato's Magic reminds me of Fairy Tale by Hiro Mashima. The nostalgic adventures and kinda young-ish excitement really just reminds me of that series. While I think I'm a little older than the target audience of this manga. It has been casually amusing enough so far, and I think I will read it weekly until I am dissuaded from doing so. Just fingers crossed it doesn't develop any of Fairy Tail's massive set of flaws. Top of the 3 stars so far. This is a very solid new series, and I did enjoy reading it. I don't know if there's a series that's like this exactly in Jump at the moment, like not the classical fantasy guild adventure type of thing. So in the lineup, it actually stands out a little bit, and I think it is a solid addition. All right, last new series. What if... I can't even come up with like a little quirky blurb for it. I'm just so excited. Oh, my Shounen slop radar is active. I saw the intro color spread for the series before the magazine fully released, and I immediately started salivating. Okay, I can't help it. Alien punching Weekly Shonen Jump Hajime no Ippo. Come on now, I can only get so hard. I have only had this goat for 1 chapter, but if anything happens to them, I'm gonna headbutt every alien in this room. The art is absolutely fantastic. It's very messy, but very fun. The battle shonen's great so far. He's been fighting aliens, and there's blood and like guts and stuff everywhere already in chapter 1. There's some heart to the series to the point where I actually already care about the main character and I want to cheer for him. It immediately essentially characterizes who our main character is as a person while still leaving plenty of room for the boxing and the alien fighting. I wouldn't say the art is 100% perfect. It's like 95% ish level, but that's still more than adequate. Like if it can just maintain this level of quality, it is entirely possible to forgive some anatomy oddities. The aliens look fantastic. The alien punching looks fantastic. I'm just so excited for this series. I will definitely put it in the 4-star category. It's already above Roboco and Witch Watch to me because those 2 series aren't exactly the types of series that I like. So I'll put it below Kagurabachi for now, but it's punching aliens. Like, I really sincerely hope that it is impossible to get this wrong or mess it up in any way going forward. The only thing I'm slightly concerned about is the art quality. Like, is this art style sustainable for a weekly series in Jump? I'm not sure, but I guess we'll see going forward. And honestly, I wouldn't mind like a formulaic series. All different aliens kidnap the different members of his family, so he needs to fight like different alien bosses to rescue each member of his family. I think that would be a really funny, and it could give the series a structure as well. This batch overall is much better than the last one. I am so happy all 3 of these series are actually series that are readable to me. I'm going to talk a little bit about the current state of my tier list and of the magazine for just a moment, if you would lend me your ear. Nothing's changed in the 5-star tier. Hunter x Hunter is still on hiatus. We're about at a year of hiatus since the last batch now. That's fine. I'm very patient for the series. Whenever Togashi's ready, I will be here with a fork to devour it. One Piece, it's still going. When the Elbaf arc concludes, I will reread from the beginning of Egghead. It's very difficult to get a grasp on the pacing of this series when you read it weekly. We just came out of a very long flashback, and I've completely kind of lost track of the pacing of how things were happening before that flashback. But of course, we're heading toward the end game, which is always fun. Sakamoto days, oh boy, we are probably nearing the end. I would say we might have two more volumes to go. of the series, so it won't last very much longer, and I am very sad but also very excited to see what the conclusion is. Also very nervous, and I'm hoping that Suzuki manages to wrap up all his BS in a satisfying way. Akane Banashi is great as always, post-time skip stuff, perfection, you know. Akane Banashi is not a incredibly hyper energy hype series. It is just consistently good in a very steady way. Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi, I've been having a lot of fun in the Hell arc so far. I am missing Roth a lot as a villain, but I'm hoping that the new villains for this arc are good enough to kind of fill that void in my heart. And there have been some emotional beats with Roth's legacy, and that part was very interesting to me. This series is so underrated, by the way. If you have not checked out Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi, just give it a read. It's quintessential Shounen Jump to me. Battle action, fun stuff with a lot of heart that you don't take too seriously. JJK Modulo, oh god, I don't want to talk about it right now. I'll talk about it when the series ends. Ichi the Witch is good as always. Some recently very horrific stuff going on, by the way. And also, apparently it was revealed that the author for this series does the storyboards down to rough sketches for Ichi the Witch. If you're an artist and you do any sort of comics, that is absolutely insane, because if you don't know, the author for Ichi the Witch, the one who writes for Ichi the Witch, is a mangaka who has a separately running, essentially weekly series in a different magazine. She's the person who also creates Iruma-kun, Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun, which is an entire another weekly shonen manga. So the fact that she's doing storyboards with sketches and writing Ichi on top of all the work she does for Iruma is batshit insane. I have no clue how she does it. Bruh, she's some kind of mutant alien. Incredibly talented. Kagurabachi has been really good as well. The most recent arc, ooh, I just know the fallout from this is going to be catastrophic. The art's also been pretty good recently, so I'm just crossing my fingers it stays good and doesn't slip back down in quality. In this most recent issue of Shonen Jump, Kagurabachi actually came to the conclusion of its first part, Kagurabachi Part 1, and okay, this really got me. I have kind of mixed feelings about Kagurabachi just because the hype is so hype and I see the series' potential, but sometimes I don't feel like it's necessarily reached that potential yet. But yeah, this was really good. For some reason, I don't know why, I wasn't expecting the blacksmithing stuff, even though it makes so much sense that Chihiro, obviously, thinking back on it, obviously Chihiro was gonna do this, but no, this makes so much sense, especially with the hint at the new. It makes me kind of feel emotional, and all the little bits in this final most recent chapter. Yeah, the writing for Kagurabachi it's good. It is very solid. And I'm crossing my fingers, looking forward to the second part. I really, really hope that it's going to be absolutely amazing. Maybe give the creator a little bit of a break, just maybe 1 or 2 weeks, so he can get a little rest in before we get the next part. I put Alien Headbutt here. I'm just so excited for this series. I can't wait. I guess this could be a martial arts-esque series, but it's not traditional sports. Roboco and Witch Watch here. I haven't read any more of them since the last video. I believe Witch Watch is actually nearing its final arc as well, but it probably has a while left to go. I have some thoughts on the nature of Witch Watch, But I don't want to like say anything before I finish the series, and that's probably going to be after the series concludes. So we'll save it for then. Kinato's magic is right here. I have been enjoying it more than Gonron. However, Gonron is higher than Underdoctor because I think Gonron is more unique, even though it's really, I don't know, it's got some issues, mostly with the art. I think I would be a lot more lenient on the story if the art was like consistent and if the art was good. As is, it just really does not have any legs to stand on, and the 3-year time skip essentially like dooms the series into the classical, this is getting axed, so we have to rush the ending format. Underdoctor is not quite interesting me that much at the moment. However, I will give it a little more time to get its footing. If it can't manage to do that and just keep slipping into random battle action stuff, I might have to drop it. We'll see. And then, of course, the drop tier, nothing's changed here. The number tiers are ranked by how much I enjoy it and like how good in general I think the series are. A mix of those two different criteria, but the drop tier is rated inside the tier by how likely I think the series are to end / get axed. Next Door and Hero Girl are not doing very well in the magazine either right now. These two are alright, I believe, and then the only reason that New Ways and Hime-ten are so high is because they essentially have fan service immunity to being axed. They're the only two full fan service series in the magazine, so those two fill the quota, and then Blue Box is like, it's a good series, it's just not something I personally enjoy. I'm very picky about my romances. It's also kind of nearing its final arc, I believe, but it'll have Reign of the Roost until it completes. It's not getting axed or anything at all. And then as soon as Gonron Egg gets axed, we'll hopefully have a new series. I don't know if that's going to be the continuation of an old series like Burn the Witch or Hunter x Hunter, or if it's going to be like a new launch. I don't care, whatever. I look forward to it. As of recording, Gonron Egg has 15 chapters out, and Kaidegami, which is one of the most recently axed series, got axed at 17 chapters, which means it's entirely possible Gonron Egg only has 2 chapters left. I probably won't make an update video if only Gonron Egg gets axed in the next 2 weeks. However, if Gonron, The Mage Next Door, and Hero Girl all get axed, then 3 new series drop. I will most likely do an update video then. And then while I have you held hostage here, let me show you my updated tier for Weekly Shounen Magazine, which is the other magazine we checked out on the channel and did a full magazine read of. Yeah, this magazine is like very, very mixed bag because there's some of my favorite series in the world in it, like Blue Lock and Gachiakata. And then there's like some utter trash in it. Like the fact that I have to put a tier on my Weekly Shounen Magazine tier list that says unreadable. Let's just talk about the tier list updates. So 3 series have gotten axed in the magazine, Weekly Shounen Magazine, since the beginning of 2026. And those 3 series are Even the Werewolf Wants to Stay Alive, which, thank goodness, this one was unreadable. It was poorly drawn, poorly written, chuny slop. The mangaka somehow feels like a 14-year-old who just discovered Town of Salem for the first time and thought it was the coolest shit ever. Oh, it was so painful to read. And then Kito of the Night Bell also got axed. I don't even know how to talk about this without having like a hysterical breakdown. In my video, when I originally checked out the series in this magazine, I gave this series a lot of benefit of the doubt because it just really felt like this was something that the author cares about, but it's too niche to have mainstream appeal. So that's what I said. I was like, this kind of wouldn't benefit from being published in a mainstream magazine. This might be more of like an indie project. Then for some reason, it took a really weird turn. Like at the end of the series, in the final chapters, they just started like sloppily making out on screen on the page. And I was just utterly baffled. Like people were posting screenshots on Twitter making fun of it. And I went, there's no way this is like canonical, right? There's no possible way this beautiful fantasy universe has somehow dissolved into like tongue on tongue, saliva trails hanging between their mouths, like entire pages of eating each other's face. And the cherry on top of that is the creator went online on their social medias and posted that the two characters making out were not gay. And I just sat there like, so what are you trying to do? Utter bafflement. Like, I don't even know what the hell this was. I'm just so confused. Honestly, good riddance, whatever. But then they also axed the Kagari monster family, and this one was so painful. It is one of the few readable series in this magazine. The few series that I actually liked, I gave this one a 4-star when I read the magazine, and I was very optimistic about it because it has a setup that I really like, which is like a combination of Kami-sama Kiss and Fruits Basket. It's like that kind of monster family type setting, which is really fun. Like, it is always fascinating to meet characters that are yokai or monsters and then help solve their problems. Like, that's a very easy to get right and very comforting baseline premise. And I'm very confused about this one actually, because we didn't even get like the first real big adventure or big mission or anything. It was just the setup. And then after 3 volumes, they axed it. I don't understand, honestly, the minds of some of the magazine editorial staff. Okay, everything else is pretty much in the same place as last time. This Saruga Meteor is still unrated because it's still untranslated and I can't get my hands on it. Someone please scanlate it so I can read about the baseball manga with the big butts. And the one new series that started in Weekly Shounen magazine this year so far that I'm aware of. I'm sure as the Wikipedia is updated, I'll check out more series and more series will start running in the magazine. But this one has been scanlated, so I can actually check it out for real. This new series is a new basketball series called Zero and Hyaku, which are the names of the main characters, and it's a very classic, promising so far sports series about 2 friends who play basketball together in high school and strive to get good at it so they can play on their school team. It's good. I think the art has room for improvement, but it's definitely serviceable for the first couple chapters of a basketball series. And the fact that a new traditional sports series launched in Weekly Shounen magazine when we don't have any of them in Weekly Shonen Jump makes me so sad. Like, come on, sports series are a classic. We can't even have one in Jump, not even a single one. While in Weekly Shonen magazine, we have Blue Lock, Hajime no Ippo, and like 2 basketball series and a baseball series. We're losing the recipes, guys. We're losing the recipes. But nothing else has changed that much, I don't think. Blue Lock's still really good. Gachiakuta has been kind of having a lot of hiatuses recently, which I am depressed about, but if it means the author can continue their quality of work while maintaining their health, it's fine. Honestly, if they need to move their series to a monthly magazine, I will wait for it every month. That is how good Gachiakuta is. Kaijin Fugeki, the physicals are out in English, by the way. They have dropped officially. So if you want to check out the series physically, you can now do that. I will say the fan service is getting worse. Not worse quality wise, just there's more indications that the series was drawn by a erotic artist who's starting to have some difficulties keeping it in his pants. But I have still been enjoying it. If it gets too bad, I'll drop it down to the 4-star tier. But for now, it's still 5 stars to me. And that is the updated Weekly Shounen Magazine tier list. Obviously, these are just my opinions, not imperial law, so you are free to disagree. And feel free to talk about it in the comments, just don't be an asshole or your comment will be deleted. Honestly, I'm in a fantastic mood at the moment after this latest batch of Jump updates, and I hope that the next ones will be fantastic as well. I'm not 100% sure what the next video is going to be at the moment. I have a couple pots on the stove that I'm slowly working on, but I'm not in any rush really for them. So I guess we'll see what finishes cooking first. Until then, thanks for watching. Read some Shonen Jump stuff. Anything from the top tiers are fantastic and very much worth a read. I will see you next time. Stay safe out there.